The most powerful weapons of World War II. World War II, 1939 to 1945, was not only the deadliest conflict in human history, but also a turning point in military technology. Nations poured enormous resources into developing weapons that could deliver greater destruction, longer range, and decisive strategic advantage. From armored vehicles and aircraft to revolutionary new technologies, the weapons of World War II reshaped warfare forever. Below are some of the most powerful and influential weapons of World War II, measured not just by raw firepower, but by their impact on the outcome of the war. 1. The atomic bomb image underscore group, Shakisho layout, carousel, aspect ratio, 16:9, query, Hiroshima atomic bomb explosion, 1945, Nagasaki atomic bomb, 1945, Little Boy atomic bomb diagram, Fat Man atomic bomb diagram. The atomic bomb was the most powerful weapon ever used in World War II, and arguably in all of history. Developed by the United States under the secret Manhattan Project, nuclear weapons harnessed atomic fission to release energy equivalent to tens of thousands of tons of TNT. Two atomic bombs were used in August 1945, Little Boy on Hiroshima, Fat Man on Nagasaki. Each explosion instantly killed tens of thousands of people and caused long-term radiation effects. The devastation forced Japan's surrender and brought the war to an abrupt end. Impact ended World War II. Introduced the nuclear age, changed global politics and warfare permanently. 2. Aircraft carriers, image underscore group. Layout, carousel, aspect underscore ratio, 16:9. Query, World War II aircraft carrier flight deck, USS Enterprise World War II, Japanese aircraft carrier Kagi, Battle of Midway aircraft carrier. Aircraft carriers replaced battleships as the dominant force in naval warfare. Instead of heavy guns, carriers projected power through aircraft capable of striking hundreds of miles away. The Battle of Midway, 1942, proved their importance when U.S. carriers destroyed 4 Japanese carriers without direct ship-to-ship combat. Why they were powerful? Mobile air bases at sea, long-range attack capability. Decisive in the Pacific theater, aircraft carriers remain the backbone of modern navies today. 3. Tanks, armored fighting vehicles, image underscore group, layout, carousel, query, Tiger 1 tank, WWII, T-34 tank, WWII, Panther tank, WWII, Sherman tank, WWII. Tanks were essential to ground combat, providing mobility, protection, and firepower. Notable WWII tanks, German Tiger 1, heavy armor and a powerful 88mm gun, Soviet T-34. Excellent balance of armor, speed, and reliability. American M4 Sherman, reliable, mass-produced, and versatile. The German Blitzkrieg strategy relied heavily on tanks to overwhelm enemies quickly, while the Soviet T-34 played a major role in turning the tide on the Eastern Front. 4. Strategic bombers, image underscore group, layout, carousel, aspect underscore ratio, 16:9, query, B-29 Superfortress, WWII, B-17, Flying Fortress, WWII, Lancaster Bomber, WWII, Dresden Bombing, WWII. Strategic bombers allowed nations to strike deep into enemy territory, targeting factories, cities, and infrastructure. Key bombers, B-17 Flying Fortress, USA, B-29 Superfortress, USA, delivered atomic bombs, Avro Lancaster, UK. These aircraft carried massive bomb loads and flew long distances, making total war against civilian industry possible. Effect? Crippled enemy production, devastated cities, weakened morale. 5. Submarines, U-boats. Submarines, especially German U-boats, were among the deadliest weapons in naval warfare. Operating stealthily beneath the ocean, they targeted supply ships crossing the Atlantic. At their peak, U-boats nearly cut Britain off from vital resources. Strengths: stealth and surprise attacks. Disrupted global supply chains, forced development of sonar and anti-submarine warfare. 6. Rocket weapons, V1 and V2, image underscore group, journal layout, carousel, query, V2 rocket launch, WWII, V-1 Flying Bomb, WWII, V-2 Rocket Museum, Peenemünde Rocket Facility, WWII. Germany pioneered rocket warfare with the V-1 Flying Bomb and the V-2 ballistic missile. V-1, early cruise missile. V-2, first long-range ballistic missile, reaching the edge of space. Although inaccurate and expensive, these weapons terrified civilians and laid the foundation for modern missile and space technology. 7. Machine guns and infantry weapons. While less dramatic than bombs or tanks, infantry weapons caused the majority of battlefield casualties. Notable examples: MG-42, Germany, extremely high rate of fire; M1 Garand, USA, first standard-issue semi-automatic rifle; PPSH-41, USSR, highly effective submachine gun. These weapons defined close combat and shaped modern infantry tactics. Conclusion: World War II was a conflict driven by industrial power and technological innovation. The most powerful weapons of the war, from atomic bombs to aircraft carriers, did more than win battles. They transformed the nature of warfare itself. Many of today's military technologies, strategies, and ethical debates can be traced directly back to the weapons developed during this global conflict. World War II proved that technological superiority could determine the fate of nations, and, in the case of nuclear weapons, the future of humanity. Technologies that changed the course of the war. While bombs, tanks, and ships delivered visible destruction, some of the most powerful weapons of World War II were technological innovations that shaped strategy, intelligence, and battlefield dominance. These tools often decided battles before the enemy even knew they had been detected. 8. Radar technology image_group. Layout, carousel, aspect_ratio, 16:9. Query: World War II radar station, Chain Home Radar Britain, World War II radar operator, Battle of Britain radar control room. Radar, radio detection and ranging, was one of the most decisive technologies of World War II. Developed primarily by Britain before the war, radar allowed forces to detect enemy aircraft and ships long before visual contact. During the Battle of Britain, 1940, radar gave the Royal Air Force enough warning to scramble fighters and defend against German air raids. Why radar was powerful: early detection of enemy attacks, efficient use of limited aircraft and fuel, major advantage in air and naval warfare. Radar transformed defense from reactive to predictive, saving Britain from invasion. 9. Sonar and anti-submarine warfare image_group layout, carousel query, WWII, sonar equipment Allied destroyer depth charges Battle of the Atlantic sonar ASDIC sonar, WWII close brace. In response to the deadly German U-boat threat, the Allies developed sonar, ASDIC, to detect submarines underwater. Combined with depth charges, escort ships, and air patrols, sonar turned the tide in the Battle of the Atlantic, protecting vital supply routes between North America and Europe. Impact: reduced Allied shipping losses, neutralized Germany's submarine advantage, ensured survival of Britain and Allied logistics. Without sonar, Allied victory would have been nearly impossible. 10. Code breaking and the Enigma machine image_group. Layout, carousel, query, Enigma machine WWII, Bletchley Park codebreakers, Alan Turing, Bletchley Park, Colossus computer, WWII. Information can be a weapon, and during WWII, codebreaking saved millions of lives. Germany relied on the Enigma machine to encrypt military communications. At Bletchley Park, British mathematicians and cryptographers, including Alan Turing, successfully cracked Enigma codes. Why this mattered: Allies knew enemy plans in advance. Convoys avoided U-boat ambushes. Battles were won before they were fought. Historians estimate that code-breaking shortened the war by at least 2 years. 11. The proximity fuse image_group. Layout, carousel, query, WWII proximity fuse diagram, anti-aircraft artillery, WWII, V-1 flying bomb interception, WWII flak explosion airburst. The proximity fuse was a small invention with massive impact. Unlike traditional shells that exploded on impact or at a set time, proximity fuses detonated when they sensed nearby objects, such as aircraft. This dramatically increased the effectiveness of anti-aircraft fire. Key advantages: destroyed WWII flying bombs, improved naval air defense, increased artillery effectiveness. It was so valuable that its use was initially kept secret to prevent enemy capture. 12. Amphibious assault craft, landing craft, image_group, could layout, carousel, aspect_ratio, 16:9, query, D-dash, day landing craft, Normandy, Higgins boat, WWII, amphibious assault, WWII, Normandy invasion landing craft. Gurchan, large scale invasions would have been impossible without specialized landing craft. The most famous was the Higgins boat, LCVP, capable of landing troops, vehicles, and supplies directly onto beaches. These craft were essential during D-Day, 1944, and Pacific Island hopping campaigns. Why they were crucial: enabled amphibious invasions, delivered tanks and troops under fire, opened new fronts against Axis powers. General Eisenhower credited landing craft as one of the most important tools of Allied victory. 13. Flamethrowers, image_group, layout, carousel, query, WWWII flamethrower Pacific, U.S. Marine flamethrower, Iwo Jima, Japanese bunker flamethrower, WWWII, WWII infantry flamethrower. Flamethrowers were terrifying but effective weapons, especially in the Pacific theater. Used primarily to clear bunkers, caves, and fortified positions, flamethrowers forced enemies out of places where conventional weapons failed. Effectiveness: cleared heavily fortified defenses. Psychological impact on the battlefield crucial in island warfare. Though controversial, they played a significant tactical role: secret weapons, experimental projects, and future warfare. As World War II dragged on, nations raced to develop secret and experimental weapons that could deliver a decisive advantage. Many of these projects were rushed, incomplete, or never used in combat, but they shaped the future of warfare, space exploration, and modern military technology. 14. Jet aircraft image_group, layout, carousel, aspect_ratio, 16:9, query, Messerschmitt Me-262 jet fighter, Gloucester Meteor jet, WWII, WWII jet aircraft comparison, Me-262 in flight, WWID. Jet-powered aircraft were among the most revolutionary weapons to appear during World War II. Germany introduced the world's first operational jet fighter, the Messerschmitt Me-262, which was far faster than Allied propeller aircraft. Britain responded with the Gloucester Meteor, primarily used to intercept V-1 flying bombs. Why jet aircraft mattered: speeds exceeding 800 kilometers per hour, outran and outgunned traditional fighters, marked the end of propeller-dominated air combat. Although introduced too late to change the war's outcome, jet aircraft defined post-war air forces. 15. Super battleships image_group layout, carousel aspect_ratio, 16:9 query, Yamato battleship, WWII, Bismarck battleship, WWII, battleship big guns, Japanese super battleship Yamato. Battleships represented raw naval power, and World War II saw the largest ever built. The Japanese Yamato-class battleships were the heaviest and most heavily armed warships in history, mounting 18.1-inch, 460 millimeters, guns capable of firing shells weighing over a ton. However, their destruction by aircraft showed that air power had surpassed battleships as the dominant force at sea. Lesson learned: even the strongest armor could not withstand air superiority. 16. German wonder weapons, Wunderwaffe, image_group, Nachiwan, layout, carousel, query, German Wunderwaffe, WWII, Schwerer Gustav railway gun, Battery 3 cannon, WWII, German experimental weapons, WWII. Late in the war, Nazi Germany invested heavily in so-called Wunderwaffe, wonder weapons, to reverse its declining fortunes. Notable examples: Schwerer Gustav, a massive railway gun firing 7-ton shells, V3 cannon, long-range artillery designed to bombard London advanced jet and rocket aircraft designs. Despite their impressive engineering, these weapons were expensive, difficult to deploy, strategically ineffective. They symbolize technological ambition without strategic practicality. 17. Chemical and biological weapons, unused but stockpiled, image_group, layout, carousel, query, WWII gas masks soldiers, chemical weapons stockpile, WWII, WWII biological warfare research, WWII protective suits, chemical warfare. Although chemical weapons were widely feared, they were largely not used on the battlefield during World War II. All major powers possessed poison gas stockpiles, chemical warfare research programs, protective equipment for troops. The fear of retaliation and escalation prevented their use, marking one of the few restraints observed during total war. Significance: World War II established an unspoken taboo that later influenced international chemical weapons bans. 18. Early computers and fire control systems, image_group layout, carousel, query, WWII fire control computer, Colossus computer, WWII, naval fire control radar, WWII, analog computer, WWII military. World War II accelerated the development of early computers and automated targeting systems. Examples include Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer, naval fire control computers for battleship accuracy, radar-linked targeting systems. These technologies dramatically improved artillery accuracy, naval gunnery, intelligence processing. They laid the groundwork for the digital age. 19. Long-range strategic missiles, future impact image_group, DOS layout, carousel, query, V2 rocket diagram, WT ballistic missile concept, Cold War missile development origins, Werner von Braun, V2. The German V2 rocket was the first man-made object to reach space, marking the beginning of the missile age. After the war, US and Soviet programs absorbed German scientists. Missile technology evolved into ICBMs. Space exploration became possible. Thus, World War II weapons directly led to the Cold War arms race and the space race. Final reflection, Part 3. World War II was not just a struggle for survival, it was a laboratory for future warfare. Many of the most powerful weapons were unfinished, experimental, or misunderstood at the time. Yet their influence reshaped the world for decades to come. The war proved that innovation could be as decisive as manpower, and that technology developed in desperation could redefine humanity's future, for better or worse. The deadliest and most influential weapons by country. Each major power in World War II developed weapons that reflected its strategy, resources, and military doctrine. Some focused on speed and innovation, others on mass production and reliability. Together, these national arsenals defined how the war was fought across different fronts. 20. United States, Industrial Power and Innovation image_group. Query, B-29, Superfortress, WWII. Atomic bomb, Hiroshima, 1945. M4 Sherman tank, WWII. USS Enterprise aircraft carrier, WWII. Aspect_ratio, 16:9. The United States combined technological innovation with unmatched industrial capacity, producing weapons in enormous numbers. Most powerful U.S. weapons, atomic bomb, the most destructive weapon of the war, B-29 Superfortress, long-range strategic bomber aircraft carriers, USS Enterprise, dominated naval warfare, M4 Sherman tank, reliable and mass-produced strength. The U.S. didn't always have the most heavily armored or powerful single weapon, but it could build, supply, and deploy weapons faster than any other nation. 21. Nazi Germany, Advanced Engineering and Experimental Power image_group, query, Tiger I tank, WWII, Messerschmitt Me-26 two-jet fighter, V-2 rocket, WWII, MG-42 machine gun, WWII. Germany emphasized advanced engineering and cutting-edge technology, often years ahead of its enemies. Most powerful German weapons: Tiger I and Tiger II tanks, superior armor and firepower, Messerschmitt Me-262, first operational jet fighter Phi-2 rocket, first ballistic missile G-42 machine gun, extremely high rate of fire weakness. German weapons were often too complex, expensive, and difficult to maintain, limiting their strategic effectiveness. 22. Soviet Union, mass, durability, and relentless firepower image_group. And on query, T-34 tank WWII, Katyusha rocket launcher WWII, PPSH-41 submachine gun, Soviet artillery WWII. The Soviet Union focused on rugged, simple, and deadly weapons that could be produced in massive numbers. Most powerful Soviet weapons: T-34 tank, one of the best tanks of the war; Katyusha rocket launchers, devastating artillery barrages; PPSH-41, high rate of fire infantry weapon, heavy artillery, backbone of Red Army offensives. Strength: Soviet weapons thrived in harsh conditions and overwhelmed enemies through numbers and firepower, especially on the Eastern Front. 23rd United Kingdom Defense, Intelligence, and Precision Image Group. Query: Spitfire Battle of Britain, Chain-Home radar stations, Avro Lancaster bomber, British naval convoy WWII, aspect ratio 16:9. Britain specialized in defensive technology, intelligence, and strategic bombing. Most powerful British weapons: radar, chain-home, saved Britain during the Battle of Britain; Supermarine Spitfire, iconic fighter aircraft Avro Lancaster; heavy bomber for night raids; code-breaking Bletchley Park; intelligence dominance, impact. British innovation allowed survival against overwhelming odds and helped coordinate Allied victory. 24. Japan, naval air power and specialized warfare image_group. Query: Yamato battleship WWII, Mitsubishi A6M0 fighter, kamikaze attacks WWII, Japanese aircraft carrier WWII, aspect_ratio 16:9. Japan relied heavily on naval aviation and elite pilot training, especially early in the war. Most powerful Japanese weapons: Yamato-class battleships, largest battleships ever built; a 6M0 fighter, dominant early war aircraft carriers, central to Pacific strategy, kamikaze tactics, extreme psychological and physical impact. Limitation: Japan struggled to replace skilled pilots and lacked industrial capacity to sustain prolonged war. Comparative summary country key: strength United States mass production, plus nuclear power Germany; advanced engineering Soviet Union; durable, mass-produced weapons United Kingdom; intelligence and air defense Japan; naval aviation and early air superiority. Conclusion of Part 4. World War II was not fought with one ultimate weapon, but with entire systems of warfare shaped by national priorities. Victory belonged not just to those with powerful weapons, but to those who could adapt, produce, supply, and coordinate them effectively. Weapons that cause the greatest destruction and casualties. Power in war is not measured only by technology or size, but by how much destruction a weapon causes and how deeply it affects human lives. In World War II, some weapons killed not thousands, but millions, either directly or indirectly. This section focuses on the deadliest weapons in terms of casualties, fear, and long-term consequences. 25. Strategic bombing of cities. Strategic bombing aimed to destroy enemy cities, factories, and civilian morale. Both Axis and Allied forces used this tactic extensively. Major bombing campaigns: Dresden, Germany, massive firestorm in 1945. Tokyo firebombing, Japan, over 100,000 killed in one night. London Blitz, UK, sustained German bombing campaign. Incendiary bombs caused uncontrollable fires, especially in wooden cities like Tokyo. Impact: millions of civilian casualties. Entire cities reduced to ashes changed the ethics of modern warfare.